Hi, Space Watchers. This is Daniela Jovic reporting from Utah, from the Small Satellite Conference. And with me is Sandy Tirtey. And he's with Rocket Lab, and he's Senior Director for Global Watch. And I'm here to talk about, for instance, the place that we come to for the first time. There's a huge change. We moved from Logan to be here in Salt Lake City. So first of all, Sandy, what are you thinking? What is your thoughts on this new venue, this new setup?
Well, it's definitely easier to get here. We still are trying to discover if that's the same spirit as SmallSat used to be. So your SmallSat used to be in Logan, which is a very student city. And one of the great aspects of SmallSat was always the networking. So during the day, we talk about space, and during the evening, we have these parties where we just get to know people better, have a beer in all these old frat houses. So you could go from one party to the other and get to meet everyone. So we had to discover if that's the same spirit here.
It's the day one, so obviously the expectations are still to be fulfilled or met. However, let's talk about work, because that's why we are here. And I would want to know about your recent tests and what's new with your technology. There were some full burn tests, and can you tell us about that?
That's right. So we've just disclosed, I believe, last week that we did a full duration burn on Archimedes, which is the engine that we've developed for Neutron. Archimedes is a LOX methane, and doing a full duration burn is a big achievement. Obviously, you need to be able to do this consistently in order to be in a position to fly. So, now that it has happened, we can move to another part of the development program, which is exploring the envelope, where you basically modify a bit the condition to explore different things that could happen in flight and see if your engine performs as it's supposed to be. So that's a big step for us.
That's a big milestone. When we're talking about other big milestones, you've recently acquired a payload company. Why? Can you tell us about this recent acquisition as well?
That's right. So a lot of companies start by developing a payload, then they try to find a satellite manufacturer and buy a bus, and then they try to find a launch service provider. We do the exact opposite. We started with rockets, so we started the very hard way. Then we move up the chain and did satellite, and now we started to move toward payloads. So being able to deploy your own applications. The goal of Rocket Lab has always been applications. So the rocket is essential because that's what we use to get there. We're getting very good at satellite. We're getting a very large range of items that we can provide others and use ourselves. And we keep going toward our goal to deploy applications.
So yes, and then there was a European acquisition. So that's like sort of, can you tell us a little bit about the European status of things, or how Rocket Lab is perceiving Europe and the whole ecosystem?
Sure. So we've just acquired Mynaric, which is a satellite component company. So they do optical terminals for the satellite to communicate. This is our first step in Europe, and Europe is the second biggest market after the US. So it's a very important step for us. The status in Europe, well, there's a few companies doing good work. There's also a lot of new rocket companies.
Yes.
Probably way too many for the market. But hey, that's a competition. So it's good that there's so much enthusiasm. We'll see in some years how many companies still stand. But there's still a whole bunch of people that get trained to do the hard things. And even whether a company succeeds or not, there's people, they will go and do other interesting things. So that's still very positive for Europe.
Good. And maybe just because my angle on these talks is somewhat looking behind the buzzwords, the space industry is full of these big claims and things. What's your thing that really triggers you?
That annoys me?
Yes.
The space tugs or the OTV,
okay.
Orbital-Transfer-Vehicle.
How come?
So the reason that annoys me is that physics say no, basically. So what they try to do is that they tell people, oh, if you fly with us, you can go on a cheap rideshare, and then we'll bring you the last mile. However, what does the last mile mean? And they try to give the idea that if you fly with them, you can go on any orbit. Physics says no. You cannot change really the inclination. You can change a little bit the altitude, but not much. And you cannot change the L10. So basically, for me, that's it's almost a scam.
Okay.
And the other thing as well is they need to be cheap, otherwise they're not useful, because other client can come to a dedicated launch vehicle. However, what they try to do is still difficult because it's still a satellite. So they're being compressed. The business case is being compressed between being cheap and doing something hard, and the maximum price they can reach, which is, if they're more expensive than the dedicated vehicle, it's useless. So I see a few of these companies eventually changing business and doing satellite platform, because the same hardware that they've developed, which they could not sell to a high price, now they can bring it as a satellite, and the same hardware, the same work, but it's much more valuable. So to me, the whole OTV is just a business case that does not exist. It sounds like a good idea, but when you look at it, it's actually not a good idea. And so to me, in the next few years, that will have disappeared.
That's really an interesting opinion. So I'm really curious what our audience will think of that. And I'm really thankful for, maybe starting this conversation. So thank you very much for being with me here today. And I wish you a successful rest of the conference.
Thank you. And maybe we can call that the OTV scan. That sounds like a good
title
good
for the episode. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.